rest of this.
Okay, so we're going to talk about the sun, like the big ball of gas in the sky, right? And how that helps keep ecosystems and humans and plants and animals alive and all of the good things about the sun. And we're also going to talk about food chains and how energy flows through food chains. So like you got a plant, the plant gets eaten by an animal, the animal gets eaten by another animal, and how energy is flowing through a food chain. So the video we're going to watch is about food chains and that energy. If you're online, this might be a little loud to start, so maybe turn your volume down a little bit. And I'm going to get going. Oh, look, it's the yoga that I do. Anyway, I'm going to get going. I do yoga every day, and that's the lady I follow. Here we go. About a 3-minute video. Make sure if you're online, not your voices. What are they called? Your microphones are off. If you're here, voice is off. Oh, I'm not presenting. Thank you. Let's try this again then. Oh, yeah, you guys couldn't see that I was talking about yoga. Anyway, that's what I was talking about. Yoga. There we go. All right. Okay, now you might, microphones off, voices off. Here's our video. 1, 2, 3, go.
Energy make whole food. Animals need energy to help move. They need to find food supply. They are ready to die. Show energy go by. We place them right in a line. Plants and animals go to the right. The unbroken middle gets eaten by. Producer is on the left, follow. My herbivores on the board, carnivores. In between is right thinking, this is the show of range. That's how we see a food chain. And how the fruit is obtained. Ecosystem will sustain. You gotta know. That's how we see a food chain. That's how we see a food chain. Joined at the hip, predators and prey do. Life people dip down and prey drops down to. Animal bound populations fall and they climb. To show energy go by, we place them right in a line. Plants and animals go to the right. The unbroken middle gets eaten by. Producer is on the left, follow. My herbivores on the board, carnivores. In between is right thinking, this is the show of range. That's how we see a food chain. And how the food is obtained. Ecosystem will sustain. You gotta know. That's how we see a food chain. Animal bound populations fall and they climb. To show energy go by, we place them right in a line. Plants and animals go to the right. The unbroken middle gets eaten by. The you should know depends on the supply. That's how we see a food chain. That's how we see a food chain. And how the food is obtained. Ecosystem will sustain. Yeah, producers on the left, you know. The herbivores, omnivores, carnivores. In between each right, they sing apple. Can we stand?
I was dancing a little bit. All right, so that was our little song for today. So we're going to talk about food chains and how energy flows through them. We have 2 sets of notes, and I don't think either of them are very long. They'll be quick, and then I have like a little activity where you guys are going to fill in parts of the food chain later. So, yeah. No, not an assignment today. So in Google Classroom, a science assignment should have posted called the Role of the Sun Notes. That's what we're going to start with. I have the PowerPoint pulled up already, and again, you can copy and paste. So pull up the PowerPoint as well as the Google Doc. Huh? That's what we're going to do, yep. It's the same types of notes that we have been doing. It's difficult to do this type of stuff online, so sorry, it's a little bit boring. But we do similar things in person anyway, so. It's true. The PowerPoint is shared, but you guys can only view it. You can't edit it. So you should be able to copy and paste. You should be able to. Everybody else has been so far. So we have the sun. I'm going to zoom in just a little bit on our note sheet. Okay. And our first one is only 2 slides long, right? The Role of the Sun PowerPoint. So I'm going to start by reading that one. The sun, first of all, is a big ball of gas in the sky. It's a star, right? It's the largest star in our solar system. And it is one of the most important non-living things in the environment. The sun is not living because it doesn't have living tissue, right? It's just gas. Life on Earth could not exist without the sun. We would not be able to exist without the sun. We need it to grow plants. We need it as vitamin D for our skin. You also can get sunburned, not fun. But the sun is a star at the center of our solar system. It emits light, so it gives off light. We know that that's how we get light by day, right? That light is carried as energy to Earth. Radiant energy, which is the light that is coming to the Earth, from the sun is a major source of energy on Earth. Nearly all energy on the Earth can be traced back to the sun. So the sun is like the starting point of life, basically. We need the sun for anything, whether it's a plant, an animal, a human, the water. We need it all. So let's go ahead and get that typed out. You can write your name on here if you'd like to. Spell it right. All right, let's fill this out. The sun is one of the most important, what? Perfect. Non-living factors in the environment. Life on Earth could not what without the sun? Exist. Perfect. I'm gonna highlight those.
Should make is the 1, 2, and 3 part for copy and paste, or is that something we write? Because I just copied and pasted all of that real quick.
It can be kind of both. You can copy and paste the 3 ways, or you can write it in your own words.
Okay.
Yep. The next one, the sun is a blank at the center of our solar system. Good, it's a star. Okay, it emits what? What does the sun give off? Sunlight. Light. And that light carries light or radiant what to the Earth? Energy. I know, I'm going to go back and highlight them. Okay. So there's our second bullet point. Okay. All right. Our next bullet point there says blank energy from the sun is a major source of blank on Earth. Energy. What's the first blank though? Radiant. Good. Radiant. So radiant energy from the sun is the major source of what on Earth? Life? I don't remember. No, it's not life. It's energy. So radiant energy is from the sun. And it's the major source of all energy on Earth. Again, we need the sun. Very, very important. So nearly all energy on Earth can be what back to the sun? Traced back to the sun. So we can follow all the energy that, and when we talk about food chains, when we talk about it in a few minutes, the arrow that points from animal to animal or plant to animal is showing the energy is going from that plant to that animal. So we can trace those arrows to see where the energy is going. And pretty much always, if you follow the arrows in the opposite direction, it's always going to end up with starting at the sun. The sun is the major source of energy. Okay. I'm going to get rid of these lines because they're just going to be in the way for 1, 2, and 3. Yeah, so we need a 1, a 2, and a 3 right here. Yeah. And we are going to talk about the 3 ways that the sun is important to life on Earth. The main thing is that we're going to read this slide, and you should be able to tell me the 3 things after this slide. Okay.
Aren't there supposed to be only 3 lines or 4?
It doesn't. I don't think it really matters. Anybody know whose class these people are in? Amari Thomas and Renee.
I don't know who they are.
Do you know whose class? What class are they in?
I don't know.
Wait, why?
Because they're talking on this document. So I was just gonna call their teacher and be like, "Yo."
It might be It might be Miss Jew.
Maybe, I don't know. I'll ask them later. We have a meeting later. I'll be like, "Yo, guys." Yep.
Are there 5 Are there supposed to be 5 lines on the writing part?
It doesn't matter how many lines there are.
No. I mean the 3 numbers because I have 5 of them.
No, the lines were just there to show that you needed to write something.
Oh.
You don't have to
I'm
fill
just
it.
gonna delete the 4 and stuff.
That's fine. So 3 ways that the sun is important for life on Earth. So our second slide here, the sun. I'm going to read this, and I think that you should be able to tell immediately what the 3 important things are, because it's pretty clear on there. Good, it's highlighted. So perfect. So we have, good. 3 ways the sun is important. The first one, the sun provides visible light. So the sun gives off light that we use to see. Visible light energy is important for visualizing the world. Without it, we would not be able to observe the environment. In other words, it would be completely dark and we would not be able to see anything ever. We'd basically be blind. But also we would have adapted. As humans, we would have been able to adapt to that.
Can we turn it in?
Yeah, when you're done, you can turn it in. The second one, the sun provides energy. The sun's radiant energy is used to power food chains. Plants use the sun's radiant energy to make food. Animals consume those plants. Other animals consume the animals that ate those plants, and so on. Without the energy from the sun, plants could not make food, and plants would die and the food chains would just collapse. So we would not have a way to sustain life if we didn't have the sun and its energy. And finally, the sun provides heat. The sun emits an infrared light. You cannot see infrared, but you can feel it. Infrared is important to warming up the Earth. This creates weather, wind, clouds, and precipitation. It is responsible for powering the water cycle and the other cycles that are on Earth. So, what are the 3 things here? What's the first important thing that the sun does?
It provides light.
Yeah, it provides visible light. Okay, I'm not going to make it smaller. What was the second thing that it does?
Energy.
Sun provides energy. That's fine. And our third one, what else does the sun provide?
Heat.
Yeah, the sun provides heat. And there's our 3 things. Period, period, period. All right.
No.
Yep, so when we finish up with this, the role of the sun, you can turn that in. And I'm pretty sure we have one more that has been posted.
Miss Jones, I put the whole paragraph on them all.
That's all right. Okay, I'm going to give you guys about 1 minute to finish up this one. You can get it turned in. And then there should be another assignment posted there for us to work on that has notes. Again. Yep. No. Alrighty. So go ahead and get that one turned in. If you have not finished it up, just make sure you do and get it turned in, please.
Is it called food chains?
Yes. So our next one on Google Classroom that should have posted is called Food Chain Notes. So again, there's a PowerPoint, which I already have open, and there is some notes to do. All right, this one's a little bit longer. Wow, it's 3 pages. This one's really long, way longer than I thought. Okay, let's get started then. I didn't realize it was this long. Okay, food chains. What is a food chain? Let's go to our slides here. Whew. Okay. Food chain. A food chain is a linear sequence of feeding relationships between organisms. It shows how organisms are related to each other by the food that they eat. So if you look at the food chain that's going across on this slide right here, we have grass, a rabbit, a snake, and an owl. The way that the arrow is pointing is the way that the energy flows, and the animal or plant or whatever in front of it is what eats it. So the rabbit eats the grass, the snake eats the rabbit, the owl eats the snake, and the energy has flowed from the grass to the rabbit to the snake to the owl. So by the time the energy gets to the owl, it's got quite a bit of energy stored up in its body because it's eaten all the other things that have stored the energy as well. And they use that energy to fly around and all that stuff. Right? Well, it's an owl. And it eats a snake. I mean, I'm sure eagles eat it too. Okay. So let's go fill that out. What is a food chain? I'm just going to copy and paste that. A food chain is a linear sequence of feeding relationships between organisms. Copy. Yep. I'm going to get rid of this long line because I don't really need it. Paste. Okay, we're going to make that a lot smaller too. And I'm going to highlight it. Apparently. Alrighty. Next slide. Slide 3. The length of a food chain is variable. Variable means that it can change. So, but it's not indefinitely long. It's not going to go on forever and ever and ever and ever and ever. But it does change a little bit. Usually, a food chain is not longer than 5 organisms. So 5 things that eat each other. As the length of the food chain increases, the amount of energy in food from one organism to the next decreases. So the plant has the most energy. So if we go by the last one, the plant had the most energy, the rabbit has less because it ate some of the energy from the plant. The snake will have less than the rabbit, and the owl will have less than the snake. So it kind of goes in an opposite reaction. And then at some point, the food cannot provide enough energy for the food chain to continue, so the food chain just kind of stops. That's why it's only about 5 organisms long. Okay, so now let's go back over and type that in. Next one, the blank of a food chain. What is that one? Thank you. The length of a food chain is variable. It changes, but it is not blank long. Indefinitely. Good. But usually it is no longer than how many organisms? Thank you. It's not usually longer than 5 organisms. Good. The next bullet point, as the length of a food chain increases, the amount of what in the food passed, the amount of what? Energy in the food passed from one organism to the next one increases or decreases? Does it go up or down? Decreases. It goes down. Good. Okay. And our next bullet point, at some point, what cannot provide enough what to continue the food chain? Food cannot provide enough energy to continue the food chain. Good. Okay. I'm going to give you guys about 30 seconds to get those ones typed in, and then we'll move on. All right, next slide. So many of them. You know, it's nice that I can see that all of you guys are on the document like you're supposed to be. So that's good. Okay. Next slide. We have the first organism in a food chain is always a producer. What do we know about producers? We learned this yesterday. A producer is always a what? What type of thing? Plants or animals? Plants. Producers are always plants. So the beginning of your food chain will always start with some sort of plant. Okay, the plants will get the energy from the sun, and that's how they grow and can produce food, which then gets eaten by everything else, right? The second organism will eat the producer, and this organism is called the primary consumer. Then the third organism in your food chain will eat the primary consumer, and this organism is called the secondary consumer. And then finally, the fourth organism is going to eat the secondary consumer, and this organism is called the tertiary consumer. So they all have different names, but they go in order. Producer, primary consumer is the first thing that eats thing. Secondary, like the second one, is the second thing that eats something. Tertiary means 3, so it's the third thing that eats something. Okay, let's go fill that out. The first organism in a food chain is always what? Is always a producer. Good. Yep. The thing that produces food on its own. The second organism will what the producer? Eat. Is it eat or consume? It says eat. So it's going to eat the producer. And that organism is then called the what? The primary consumer. Good. It's the primary consumer. Yeah.
I know what class they're in now. They're in Miss Bradley.
Okay.
Cause someone is they're talking right now, and they're just talking, and I can see that, like, cause I know what
Oh my
kid
God.
is in what class.
Yeah. Oh well, not much we can do right now. All right, our next one. The third organism will eat what? The secondary consumer. Wait. No, the primary one. Right, the third organism eats the primary consumer. And they're called the secondary consumer. Right? Okay. Good. And then the fourth organism is going to eat which consumer? The secondary one. It eats the secondary consumer, but we call this one the what consumer? Yeah, the tertiary consumer. Okay, so I'll give you about 30 seconds to fill those ones out.
We might not finish this before the time's up.
Now we got this. Yeah, we got time. Okay. Our next one, we're on slide number 5. The primary consumer is always a herbivore. What does an herbivore eat? Think about me. What do I eat? Vegetarian. They only eat plants. They don't eat meat. The secondary consumer can be an omnivore or a carnivore. What does an omnivore eat? They eat food, yes, but what type of food? Good.
Meat?
Meat and plants. They'll eat both plants and animals. What about a carnivore? What does a carnivore eat? Only meat. Okay. So the secondary
Just meat.
consumer, yep. The secondary consumer is sometimes an omnivore or it can be a carnivore. And then the tertiary consumer can be an omnivore or a carnivore as well. But that primary consumer is the only one that's only an herbivore. They only eat plants. They don't eat other animals. So something like a bunny. This little bunny right here is an herbivore because they're cute and cuddly. Anyway, the primary consumer is always a what? What did I just say? No, one primary consumer is always what type of consumer? It does start with an H. Herbivore, good. Herbivore. Okay. Then we have that the secondary consumer can be in blank or a blank. Omnivore or a carnivore. Good. Okay. And then our last one, the tertiary consumer can be a what or a what? Good. Again, an omnivore or a carnivore.
Miss Jones, the next slide that you go on is kind of messed up on one of them.
Is it? Okay.
Instead of is, it's it.
Wow.
I guess that's to show where the food it go to.
Hmm. Oh well. As long as you know it means is. It is, food is, whatever. Okay, about 30 seconds, and then we'll look at our next part. Alrighty. Look at our next one. We have.
What was that noise? Like
I
the
don't know.
ding.
Oh, that's when I switch over to the slides. It tells me that
Oh.
I'm presenting. Yeah. We can illustrate food chains in a diagram using arrows. Arrows point to show how the food moves through one organism to the next. They show where the food is going to. So essentially, it's showing the flow of energy. So the plant starts out with the most energy. When the rabbit eats it, the energy flows to the rabbit. When the rabbit gets eaten by the snake, it flows to the snake. So the snake has the energy. And then finally, once the owl eats the snake, the energy flows to the owl. So the arrows show where the energy is going through your food chain. So our next bullet point, we can illustrate food chains in a diagram with what? I just said it like 8 times. Oh, wait, it's right there. Most of you guys are on the document. You guys all can see it.
Energy?
Arrows, thank you. Okay, so we use arrows to show the flow of energy. Okay, arrows point to show how food, what from one energy to the next. Or from one organism to the next, sorry. How food, is it moved? Okay. Okay, they show where the food is what to? Going to. Good. Okay. And then we need to draw arrows to show where the energy is flowing from. I wonder if we can draw arrows on here, if it's going to be difficult. Let me try this really quick. Nope. Oh. Okay. This could be very difficult to explain. So I don't know if I necessarily want to do this part, because technology-wise, it's going to be hard to explain. But when we look at this chart, and we see that there's a grass, and then a bunny, and then a snake, and an owl, which way are my arrows going to point? Right. To the right. They're going to go from the grass to the bunny, from the bunny to the snake, from the snake to the owl. It's going to be a lot of talking you guys through how to draw arrows, and I don't really want to get into that. So just know
I figured it out. It's pretty easy.
Yeah, but I still don't want to explain it. It's not
Okay.
awful, but well,
Can I still do it though?
Yeah, you can still do it. You can put a little star here and say that the energy or the arrows will point to the right. So that just in case you forget, it's right there for you.
Do I write that? Because I
No,
did the.
if you do the arrows, you're good.
Okay.
All right. Yeah. I think we're only going to do half of this today. That's fine. We'll finish it tomorrow. We're gonna finish the stuff that says food chains, and then I want to do a little activity. So, our next slide. Yeah. The next one says all food chains end with a decomposer. Decomposers will break down the dead organisms and waste that is produced by the organisms in the food chain, and they'll change that into organic matter, which then can be recycled back into the food chain. So it just kind of goes in a circle. But a decomposer is going to be something like a mushroom, a worm, a bug. They're going to eat the dead stuff. Okay? So let's type that out. All food chains end with what? A. Oh, wait. We got all day.
Decomposer.
Thank you. All food chains end with a decomposer. Yes, we're still doing it. I understand that you finished, but I have not, and I'm going to keep going. I understand that a lot of you guys have finished, but I'm still going to go through the slides and explain them instead of just copy and pasting it over. That's fine too. Next part, decomposers break down what organisms? What kind of organisms do they break down? Dead organisms. And what else do they break down? The waste that's produced by the organisms. Okay. All right, our next one. Guys, just ignore them chatting. Okay, the next one. Organic matter is rich in nutrients. These nutrients become incorporated into the soil. The plants will then absorb those nutrients and use them to build plant parts. In this way, decomposers are recyclers, returning the nutrients back into the environment. So basically, they eat all that gross stuff, all the waste, and then it goes into the soil, and the plants use that, all those nutrients that the decomposers got to grow and start the food cycle, the food chain again. Okay, so organic matter is rich in what? Kind of, yeah.
Nutrients.
But it's rich in nutrients. So yeah, decomposers kind of start and end a food chain. It kind of goes in a circle rather than a line, but it's hard to draw that. So, okay, the nutrients become what into the soil? Incorporated. Okay. Good. Blank absorb nutrients and use them to help blank plant parts. What's that first blank? I don't remember. Good.
Plants.
Plants absorb nutrients and use them to help what? Grow. They grow the plant parts because, you know, everybody needs nutrients to grow.
What's the activity we're doing?
It's like putting the correct things into a food chain to make sure that the stuff flows correctly.
Oh, so it's kind of like a chart.
A little bit, yeah. It's interactive though, but we're almost done here. So in this way, decomposers are blank. What is that line? Recyclers.
Recycling. Recyclers.
Good, they're recyclers. Okay, returning nutrients blank to the environment. Back to the environment.
Back.
Good. Awesome. And then it says include a decomposer in the food chain above. Not going to do that. We're going to skip that one. Okay.
Can you go back to the top part?
Yep, right here.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, I'm going to stay here for about a minute and then we'll finish that next part up. No. There's a little bit left of the food chain part and then there's a food webs part as well. I'm pretty sure most people have.
Okay, got it.
Okay, good. Alrighty. So the next part, we're only going to finish up this part, the sun and the food chains. So how the sun helps food chains. The food webs, we will continue tomorrow, but it's a lot. So we're going to stop after that. So our next slide says, food chains usually show organisms. However, a food chain really begins with the sun because like we said, the sun gives everything energy. The sun has to give the plants the energy to grow and then the plant can be eaten. So has to begin with the sun. So the sun provides energy to the plants and then plants use the sun's energy to make the food. And then the food is then consumed by the primary consumer, like a rabbit or a cow, whatever herbivore comes and eats it. The secondary consumer feeds on the primary consumer, and then the tertiary consumer feeds on the secondary consumer, and so on. We already talked about that part. But the energy in the plants that starts off in the plants is passed through all of those organisms in the food chain. So, in this way, the sun provides energy to all living things on Earth. So the sun gives the plant energy. It has like 100% of the energy, right? Then this rabbit comes and eats the energy, and now the rabbit has 75% of the energy left from the sun. Then the snake eats the rabbit, and the rabbit has 50% of the energy, or the snake has 50% of the energy. And then the snake gets eaten by the owl, and the owl has 25% of that energy. And then the owl dies, and the decomposer eats it, gets rid of all the gross stuff, puts the nutrients back in the soil, and the food chain kind of starts all over again with the plants as it grows. Okay? So let's finish this one out. We're almost done. Food chains usually show organisms. However, a food chain really begins with what? The sun. Good. Perfect. Okay, the sun provides what to plants? Energy to plants. Okay, blank uses the sun's energy to make blank. Plants use sun's energy to make food. You. Okay, this food is consumed by what type of consumers? Primary consumers. Good. Okay. Those primary, wait, what goes in that first blank? Secondary consumers they feed on those primary consumers. Okay. And then what feeds on the secondary consumers? Tertiary consumers. Tertiary. It's a hard word, yeah, tertiary. Because it doesn't look like the T it looks like tertiary, right? Yeah. That's one of those fun words that doesn't sound like the way it's spelled. And then our last three ones. The energy in plants is what? Passed through the organisms of a food chain. In this way, the sun provides energy for all living things on Earth. Okay. I'm going to give you guys about 30 seconds to finish this one up. Do not turn this one in yet. We will finish it up tomorrow. So just leave this one there. You can close out of it when you're done. I'm going to give you about 30 seconds and I'm going to show you guys the little activity. And we will go from there. Are they still chatting a lot?
It's kind of getting annoying.
It's just like random words.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's all right. Alrighty. Okay, I'm gonna close out of the PowerPoint and the Google Doc. All right. Let's go ahead and go look at that activity. It should be posted on Google Classroom by now. Okay. It's called food chain activity. Basically, you just click on the link and it'll open up. So click on that link and it'll open up, and it shows you this picture of animals. Yay, animals. Huh? Oh yeah, you can also just scroll down. Yeah. So I'm gonna give you guys about 30 seconds. Get on this activity. I think it was pretty cool. I did it earlier and I was like, I enjoyed it. So I thought you guys might as well. Okay, so click on that one, please and thank you. So
It's not there.
it's not there.
Mm-mm.
On your
Oh,
Google.
never mind. I found it.
Okay. Yeah, you might have to refresh your Google Classroom for it to show up. Okay. So I'm going to just scroll down because this picture of animals doesn't really need to be there. You can either click the X to get rid of, oh, well, I guess the X doesn't get rid of it. But when you scroll down, what you do, what we're going to do kind of comes up. So we're going to talk about the food chains really quick. I'm going to read through it, talk about the food chains. I'm going to skip the part about food webs, and then we'll look at the activity, okay? So food chains, the interrelationship between species in the river, wetland, grassland, and woodland. Alani, it's on Google Classroom. So it's called Food Chain Activity, and there's a website that you can click on that should take you right to the page, hopefully. Okay. So the interrelationship between species in the river, wetland, grassland, and woodland habitats of the Platte River Prairie ecosystem is a complex, dynamic food system. So basically, this is a place that is wet because it's near a river. It's got a lot of grass and trees. Okay. By exploring food chains and food webs, you will discover how energy is transferred from one organism to the other. All living things are connected, and here's how it works. First, you have food chains. A food chain follows one path as animals find food. For example, an owl eats a snake, which has already eaten a mouse, which has eaten grass. The food chain consists of the producer, which is the plant, consumers, which are the animals, and then the decomposers, which are the microorganisms like bacteria, fungi, worms, things like that. So what we're going to be doing today is using this idea of food chains. And yeah, don't think that I don't know that you guys are all on the chat. I'm very aware. We're going to talk about that later. Now, we're going to do this activity with food chains first before I talk to you guys about that. And if you scroll down, there's a place that says click on image below to launch the activity. So that image of the animals is there again, and you click on that. So click that, and it should pop up. Oh my gosh, go. Okay, so you should get something that looks like this. Hopefully it comes up for you guys. How's it working? What about online? Is it working for you guys?
Yeah, this is going to be fun.
Mm-hmm.
I almost want to start doing it right now.
So, are you here, Charlie? Are you on this website? Okay, so if you just scroll all the way down to the bottom, you click on this picture. Just click on it, and it opens up, and it looks like this.
Can I start?
Yeah, basically, what you're going to do is make a food chain. So you click on the thing, and you drag it into the correct spot. Once you've completed, a video is going to show up. So you guys are probably going to, if you're online, you're going to have to mute yourself so that when the video plays, it doesn't like echo and all that stuff. In here, keep it a little bit low so it doesn't echo too much. But essentially, we need to finish the food chain. So it talks about beavers. You can read some information about the beaver. You can read some information about a coyote. Do you guys have different animals? You got the same animals? So now that we're here, we need to figure out what starts a food chain. So we talked about this. What starts a food chain? A plant, right? Branches, plants, all that stuff. Which of these on the bottom is a plant?
Plant.
The
Good,
grass.
duck-
Video, it's cool.
Good. The duckweed allergy. So you basically click it and you drag it. Oh, look at that. And then a video pops up of a cute little beaver that's going to eat it. I forgot that happened. That's kind of cute. Hopefully it doesn't get eaten by something else. It's kind of cute though. Come on. So you can watch the little beaver eat, and then it goes away. And we've done that part, and then you click next, and it gives you a new one. So basically, so it's 1:24. We don't have that much longer. Those of you online, play this for a little bit, and then you can head out. Those of you here, play with it for a little bit as well. But basically, see if you can fit the correct animals in the food chain. Watch some cute animals eating things. Hopefully, there's no like animals eating each other.
The next one is about an owl eating a mouse.
Okay. So yeah, you can play this. If anything pops up that might be against your beliefs, skip the videos because I know that could be an issue. So just skip the video if there's something like that. Other than that, play this for a little bit, have some fun, and yeah.
It's not letting me
I
drag it.
have no reason